budget that there's going to be these really large opportunities coming out, and this is going to help position you for the future. You review the numbers, you look at your subcontractor status, which subs do you have in place today, what's your relationship with the customer, and basically what you're trying to do with this slide deck is answer why should we win? Like, why would the customer pick us over anybody else? Because the answer to that question is what's going to drive your key win. And then your proposal budget. Any questions about anything else that your companies look at besides this when you're trying to decide the decision? You guys have to talk because I have to get more water.
Come on, Zach. You're not helping us out, so you're our man.
I don't know these things.
But you're faking it well, which is important.
What was the question?
The question is, what other things do you look at when you're deciding your own competitive, in your commercial business?
So let me I don't want to speak for all businesses, but just from some experience being around some businesses, that historically, those that have really been working directly in the supply chain of the coal industry has been very blessed. And it just was right there across the street looking at you, right? It's a handshake and businesses, they've done really well. And what we have found, and Sim's not here to correct me, but we've had discussions about this. Whenever we first approached our whole project, our whole program, is we had these seminars, these sessions, supply chain optimization. While big companies came, some little companies came, but what we found is the little companies, when I say little, small businesses, didn't even have the basic building blocks, even in business, right? They've been working in the business. The owners, the one that had all the skill initially, had been working in the business instead of on the business. And so there has been a disconnect for a lot of them to kind of get up to that point. So as far as how they go after and how they determine, if somebody was willing to do business with them, they do it. Because coal was there, they already had their foot in the door, and when the coal started leaving, if an opportunity presented it, most of them just took it. And if anybody wants to correct me, but that's kind of been experience with some of these businesses that we've been working with. So we've had to kind of break it down back to the basics. Even like, okay, we're going to have to clean up and organize and 5S your facility. Just some of the basic stuff. I'm sure you know what 5S is.
No, I don't.
5S is a part of like a lean environment where everything's got a place, there's a place for everything. So when I go to get those, we're talking about, Muda, that instead of having to go back and looking for those scissors, we know the scissors go in that spot. You go get them there and you take them back there. And so that will reduce that waste. So 5S'ing is you have outlines of tools, you put tools back where they're supposed to go so you're not digging through a toolbox. Everything's on like a cork board with, and it's all hung up with little outlines, so 5S, everything's got a place for everything. So even some of the basics like that, even cleaning, or even let's put concrete down on your floor instead of the gravel that you have down. So we really had to break down some of the basic stuff.
And can you explain to me, as my grandfather used to be a coal miner, but I didn't really talk to him about that part of his business, but why does coal why is it so cyclical here? So why is there times when there's lots of,
there's a certain kind of coal we have.
That's part of it.
That's part of it.
The rest of it's administration in Washington. 8 years ago, 10 years ago, they killed it. He said he was going to kill it, and by golly, he killed it.
Part of it, there's also the demand.
And natural gas has a part of it too.
Yeah.
There were mitigating factors, but
I can see why it would be on the decline. What I'm trying to understand is why is it rising right now?
Is it related to steel and
Oh yeah, because the coal around here is used for steel production.
Yeah.
Metallurgical coal.
And plus, it's gotten so deep here, right? They've mined for years and it's so deep and it's more expensive.
The easy coal is already gone.
Yeah, and so now it's deeper and it's more expensive to mine.
It's to the point now, we actually have a customer that we do a bunch of rework, steel work for him, that he does windings for transformers and will sell those transformers, but he makes far more money going to, completed coal mines, so that they're saying they're not going to extract any more from that opening. And it's cheaper now for some of these coal companies to leave their longwall miners, leave their equipment down in the mine and shut the mine off. So he'll actually go to these retired mines, so to speak, and buy rights to go in there and can come out with all this equipment, and he'll just take it apart piece by piece instead of bringing the whole thing back up, and we'll just piece it back together, bring it over to us, we rework it, and then he'll sell it right back to the coal mining company that thought they couldn't afford to bring it out. So,
Wow. That's
So,
interesting.
and coal industry really does it, like when working with some of the large, and I'm sorry to have to leave for a bit, they had that creating a Kaizen culture event, and we had some of our big manufacturers there, and the site operations manager from actually General Dynamics came by to visit, and so when one of them show up,
Yeah.
okay. So, but kind of going through some of the companies and what the requirements are, ISO 9001, at least compliance, if not certified. Having their cybersecurity management system in place, having a quality management, how you handling your documents. Is there a way to keep your materials separate if you do contract? These are things that many of our small businesses really didn't have to deal with, worry about, because the code industry didn't require it. So, and so there's a lot of that groundwork that we're trying to work on.
Yeah, and please understand that most small businesses have the same type of issues. It's not
Yeah,
just related to
right.
coal. And, quite honestly, a lot of large businesses don't have their act together. I mean, I've worked at, several large companies, and even just things like having all the subcontracts in place, or all the, being able to refer to the prime contract, they'd have some and not others. Just real basic things that you would think. So there's a lot of room for improvement across the
Right,
industry.
I agree.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Thank you for that. So basically, the person who drives the bid decision process is typically the program manager and the salesperson. So they're going to put together a slide deck that has all the information, but they're going to get input from the proposal team and the kinds of issues that the proposal team has started to raise. And that includes the proposal manager, the technical team, the management team, business and contracts. They're going to get input from their subcontractors because, the requirements that you're going to do internally, you're going to look at in great detail. The ones that you're going to subcontract out, you're subcontracting the risk for that out too, but you still need to make sure that you understand what their risks are. Because any bad thing they do, if they don't perform, it's a bad reflection on you. Any customer updates, the government is constantly evolving. And, Trump's only been in office for 2 years, and there's still a lot of changes that he's trying to make in agencies, and they're having to comply with that. My point is that every new administration that comes in tries to put their own thumbprint on, and the agencies themselves have to figure out what they need to do to comply with that. And that's an evolving process. And as Congress enacts legislation, there's new requirements that they have to pay attention to. So the government is not a static body. They tend to constantly be in evolution mode. So any changes that they're experiencing, you want to know about. And then you want to make sure you present your competitive landscape. So part of it is just what's the word on the street? Who else have we heard is going after this? What might their competitive advantage be? And then the opportunity is presented using that slide deck to the senior leadership team, and then the senior leadership team uses that criteria that they came up with to decide whether to evaluate the opportunity. And basically every senior leader has to look at the opportunity from their functional area perspective. So the business manager, the CFO is looking at it from a financial perspective. The operations person is looking at it from an operations perspective. And each one of them gives a thumbs up or thumbs down. Yes, we should go after this. No, we shouldn't. If they all agree, then they go after it. If there are some pros and some cons, those concerns are discussed, and they have to reach consensus. So, if the operations guy is adamant that, we don't have the technology to be able to do this, that's probably going to carry a lot of weight. Whereas, if the salesperson says, we have to come in at 990,000 and so far we're at $1 million, that probably they can work through that, right? Because they have some negotiating in there. And then as a result of that bid decision, this proposal team that is about to get created, who's waiting off in the wings right now, they are either given the authority to proceed or not proceed. That's the function of the bid decision, to decide whether you want to spend money to go after this. So let's talk about those options. First one is, if the bid decision is no, the proposal team and the senior leadership team should answer the question, why was it a no? Because if it was no because we don't ever want to do this kind of business, because it's too risky, you want to make sure you change your bid criteria so that people stop bringing in these types of deals. So it's very easy to say, oh, it was just a bid decision, why go through a lessons learned? Well, you go through a lessons learned so you don't repeat your mistakes. So that's the value of lessons learned. That'll help facilitate the proposal team further qualifying opportunities and get better suited opportunities for bid review. It also facilitates the senior leadership team to better understand the opportunities in the marketplace. Because let's face it, a lot of senior executives, the higher up in the organization they go, they're so focused on what's happening internally, they sometimes lose contact with customers unless there's a problem. And this gives them a way to tap into that customer base all the time by understanding from the sales team what's going on. And then you should determine what steps, if any, should result from the lessons learned. So if you find that your salesperson just came from the services industry and keeps bringing opportunities from services because that's what he knows best, and you don't want to do services in your company, you need to get him off trying to find services, even though that's his comfort zone. Typically at this point, a proposal cost center is set up. So this is a separate cost center that all of your proposal people will charge their time to. Because if you're using project management to manage this proposal, you're going to come up with a proposal milestone list of all the, we'll talk about what those milestones are, but you're going to identify all the proposal milestones. And you're going to figure out how many resources it's going to take you to get to that milestone. And each of those resources have a labor category associated with it. Technical writer, engineer, price analyst. And you're going to take the number of hours you expect them to work on this and multiply it times their labor rate, and that's how much you think it's going to cost you to do this proposal effort. So that's why you're capturing those costs to see how close you are to reality. The proposal team, once they get a positive bid decision, they're now authorized to spend bid proposal money, B&P budget, to create a compliant and responsive proposal. So that's their goal, across those 4 areas. And at that point, the program manager and the salesperson are authorized to continue discussions with potential subcontractors. Because keep in mind, if you're working with a sub as either a prime or a subcontractor, they are making business decisions based on what you're doing. So if you decide to no bid, you're messing with them too. So to keep your stellar reputation in the industry, you want to make this bid decision quickly and stick with it, and only change your bid decision if there are extreme extenuating circumstances. Because you want to be able to say to your suppliers, yes, we are going after this, and we're committed to going after this with you, or no, we're not committed to doing this, because it impacts their business. And then at a bid decision, if you get a positive bid decision, the contract manager is authorized to continue monitoring and responding to government updates. Because keep in mind, you don't want to spend effort going after a deal that's dead already. So if you've decided not to bid it, you want everybody to stop. But if you're giving a positive bid decision, you want it all to keep working.
Do we still have people on the phone?
Are our phone people still there?
Yes, we're here.
Okay.
Okay.
I think we'd hear music if not. I just didn't know if we ever turned the volume up or whatever. If they could hear us.
There's checks and balances. So proposal efforts are really team events. And I just suggest for all of your own career development, write at least one proposal. Because I always suggest that people spend some time in proposals and sometimes in operations. Because unless you spend time in operations, you don't know what really works. And unless you spend time in proposals, you're stuck in the way you've always done things. Proposals really force you to think outside the box about new and positive solutions. And it's such a fast-paced environment that you grow as a professional in a lot of different ways. So they're a pain in the neck to work on. I'm not trying to sugarcoat this, but it's a really good experience to work on proposals and then to be able to work on the operations side to actually try to implement something. It's highly integrated. All the piece parts have to work together. A change in one part of the proposal has ripple effects.
I'm going to interrupt y'all for a minute. I hope y'all enjoyed lunch. Y'all have a great time. It's a pleasure serving y'all.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you.
Love you.
Love
See
you,
in a couple
Jackie.
weeks.
All right, see ya.
A tech volume manager reviews the tech solution and the writer's work to ensure the solution will work, and then it's properly documented in the proposal. So think about this. There's a set of government requirements. You hire some technical people, and you say, okay, team, come up with a solution that's going to meet these technical requirements, all of these technical requirements. And you might be able to do a lot of the work yourself. You might have to bring in subcontractors, but you basically are given a blank sheet of paper and told to go off and create a solution. And I guarantee that most of the people you would pick to write the technical volume, you know, they might be really good at being a technician in an existing environment. But seldom do you get to create from scratch. And so that's a skill set that you really have to push people into to be able to do well. They have to review subcontractors' work products to make sure that they're compliant. I work with subcontractors a lot, and I will tell you that you can be very clear in your proposal instructions with exactly what you want, and you will get back something totally different from subcontractors. I don't know if it's that we don't, by nature, read well and pay attention to directions. I don't know if it's a function of they're trying to upsell their product. I don't know what the issue is, but that just when you get subcontractors' proposals back, review them in detail.
Or that they've just given you what they've always given everybody because it's what they've always done, and they really didn't customize it.
Do you have any examples of like a pretty standard proposal? Or what one would look like?
If I research one and run it by you, I'm going to do that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I have proposals, but they're written from not a set of requirements. Like the customer just called me up and asked me for something like a proposal to it.
And every RFP is different,
Yeah.
depending upon what the product is they're looking
Yeah.
for and or service. You know,
Yeah, something I thought about when we were here, I think it was yesterday, that if we had what the RFP said, and then at least a quality proposal to kind of match up, right, and kind of just see that, because I'm a very visual person. So I was already kind of thinking if I could find that.
Yeah, I was just curious because we're sitting here talking about teams of people, and you were talking about hundreds of pages of proposal, and that's kind of something that's,
Concerning?
well, I can see maybe two people from our company being able to work on something like that. It's probably not going to be 100 pages long, so,
Yeah, and some proposals aren't that big.
yeah.
You could do a GSA schedule contract in probably less than 40 to 50 pages. If it's a straight RFP, I've done proposals that have been less than 10 pages. So it really does depend on what the requirement is. And if you're doing an IFB, it can be 1 page. So knowing what your resource constraints are, you can then make decisions as to what kind of opportunity. Maybe you make a decision to only go after IFBs, that you're just doing a 1-page, this is what my price is.
Yeah.
But if you decide to do negotiated procurements, maybe you decide, because the other thing that are available, and I mean, I've done this for companies before, contract out proposal writing support. So you don't have them on full time, but when you do need them, you pull them in for the duration of getting a proposal out the door. So those are avenues that you consider if you decide to really pursue them. And please don't be misled, because the government understands that you're small businesses, and so not all of them are these really big, and not all of them require all 4 volumes. They're varying. Like I think if you're talking about your washing, your cleaning supplies, that's not going to be a big proposal writing effort. You're not going to have to define management volume. It's probably going to be done under a purchase card, so it's going to be like a credit card transaction. Do you have a question on your lips?
Yes, sure. I was just relating that to the audit process though.